Hey, and welcome to Unlearning Stress, the podcast where we break the rules and cycles that keep you overcommitted, overstretched, and just plain exhausted, and replace them with something better. No fluff, no guilt, just real talk, real solutions, and expert insights to help you shift the way you live. Whether you're here for the first time or you've been with me for a while, you're in the right place. I'm Michelle O'Neill, your resident emotional wellness coach, and I'm here to help you unlearn the patterns that are wearing you down so you can live with more ease, clarity, and control. Let's get to it. If stress management was the answer, why do so many high achieving women still feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and stretched too thin? You've tried the usual advice, right? Whether that's exercise, journaling, meal prepping, making time for yourself, or even crying. And listen, those things actually help. They take the edge off. They're like a bandage. They cover the wound and they give you some instant relief and they help you move on and function, right? But the truth is that you don't just need relief, you need to heal the wound completely. Because stress isn't actually the root problem. The real issue is where your attention is going. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why just stress management isn't enough and what to do instead. I've got something that will help you go deeper with this shift, and I'll tell you more about it later in the episode. But first, I just want to talk about why this old way of handling stress is keeping you stuck. And hey, I'm Michelle O'Neill, your resident emotional wellness strategist and coach. So, first, let's look at the way most people try to handle stress. When you feel overwhelmed, what's the first thing you do? We may try to get organized, make a to-do list, restructure your calendar, color code everything. And I love all those wonderful colors. And some of us distract ourselves. We scroll social media, we binge watch something, or we clean the entire house just to feel in control of something. Because I know my house is clean. And some of us just double down on this stress management, long meditations, take deep breaths, squeeze in a quick workout, or repeat affirmations like, I'm calm, I'm at peace. Now, let me ask you something. After all that, do you actually feel less overwhelmed in a lasting way? I'm not saying you don't get that immediate relief, but is it lasting? Or do you find yourself right back where you started the second something unexpected happens? And here's why. Most people are treating stress like a surface level problem when in reality, it's an attention problem. Think about it this way. Let's say you're carrying this heavy bag everywhere you go. For me, it's a Michael Kors orange signature color bag, and it's slowing you down, making you tired and hurting your shoulder because we always got to pack our bags with everything we may need wherever we're going. And stress management is like shifting that bag, that heavy bag, to the other shoulder. And you feel better for a moment, but the weight is still there. And after a while, that shoulder starts hurting. What you actually need is to set that bag down completely. That's what managing your attention does. It doesn't just give you that temporary relief, it helps you take back control of where your energy is going so stress isn't running the show anymore. Here's where everything shifts. We've been taught to focus on reducing stress, to calm down, slow down, relax. And while those things can help, they don't actually solve the real issue. The truth? Stress isn't what's overwhelming you, it's how scattered your attention is. Let me prove it to you because I know you're sitting there rolling your eyes. Think about two women sitting at their desks right now. Woman one we'll call her Jackie, is juggling emails, checking Slack, scrolling Instagram, mentally making her grocery list, and half listening to a podcast on productivity. That's working, isn't it? She's overwhelmed. She's exhausted. And she hasn't even started her real work yet. Woman two, Cynthia, has just as much on her plate, but she's operating differently. She's locked into one thing at a time. No notifications, off, no mental clutter, knock that out. She knows exactly what deserves her energy right now, and she's ignoring everything else. Now, here's the question: which woman is more stressed? Is it Jackie or is it Cynthia? Let me tell you, it's not the one with the most to do. Because remember, they have the same amount of stuff to do. It's the one whose attention is being pulled in a million directions. This is why traditional stress management keeps you stuck. Here's something most people don't realize: when your attention is scattered, your nervous system actually treats it like a threat. Neuroscientists have found that when your brain is constantly switching between tasks, task switching, it activates the amygdala, the part of your brain that detects danger. Your body doesn't know the difference between a real emergency and an overflowing inbox. It just knows you feel overwhelmed. So it pumps out those stress hormones like cortisol to keep you on high alert. And meanwhile, the part of your brain that helps you stay calm and makes decisions, that prefrontal cortex, gets overworked. So you're not just mentally exhausted, you're physically stuck in this stress loop. This is why stress management alone doesn't work. Because if your attention is scattered, your nervous system will be too. And if your focus is constantly bouncing around, you'll always feel overwhelmed, even on your most productive days. So, how do you start managing your attention? Step one, ask yourself, where's my attention right now? Most people don't even realize how much they're in reaction mode, jumping from email to text to social media to some random thought that just pops in their head. Before you can shift your attention, you have to recognize where it's going. And step two, redirect your focus to what actually moves the needle. This is a big one for me. Now, everything requires your attention right now. Instead of trying to manage stress, ask yourself, oh, what actually deserves my energy in this moment? And step three, pause. Pause before reacting. Most of our stress comes from how quickly we react to messages, requests, interruptions. Instead of immediately responding, pause. That small moment of space is where you take back control. And listen, I'll actually I'll go deeper into this process inside my free webinar where I'll actually walk you through exactly how to implement this shift. I'll share more details in a bit, but for now, just know that your stress isn't about what's happening to you. It's about where your attention is going. And so, all right, we know that stress isn't the real issue. It's where your attention is going. So now let's talk about what you can actually do today to start shifting things. First, identify what's pulling your attention away. Before you can take back control, you have to see where your attention is leaking. Think about your typical day. How often do you pick up your phone without even thinking? How many conversations do you get pulled into that aren't urgent or important? How often does your brain jump between tasks before you actually finish anything? And most women are exhausted, not because they're doing too much, but because their attention is being pulled in too many directions. I know how that feels. And so your first step and mine is to pause and take inventory. Write down the top three things hijacking your focus. Is it social media, endless emails, the need to say yes to every request? Once you name it, you can start taking your attention back. And second, ask yourself, is this helping me move forward or is it keeping me in reaction mode? Most people live in reaction mode, responding to texts, handling requests, putting out fires all day long. And then at the end of the day, they wonder why they feel like nothing important was done. So before you jump into a task, just pause and ask yourself, is this moving me forward or is it just keeping me reacting? If this is just another distraction disguised as productivity, shift your focus to something that actually matters. Number three, start small. Reclaim one moment at a time. You don't have to overhaul your entire schedule overnight. Instead, start with one thing. Maybe it's 1 hour of deep, focused work without interruptions. Maybe it's delaying your response to non urgent emails instead of immediately reacting. The goal isn't perfection, it's about having your brain to focus on what truly matters. So let me tell you, this shift that I'm talking about changed everything for me. There was actually a time when I felt completely overwhelmed, and that still hits me from time and time again. I was constantly working, but never feeling caught up. And then I realized it wasn't my workload that was draining me. It was how scattered my attention was. I realized the difference from when I had a more calming environment, how I reacted and how I felt in those times. And so once I started protecting my focus instead of just managing stress, I actually got more done. I felt more in control and most importantly, stopped feeling like I was drowning in obligations and tasks. And that's exactly what I want for you. So here's the bottom line. If you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or like no matter what you do, stress keeps winning, this is the shift you need. Managing your attention, not just your stress, is the key, the real key to getting back in control. And I don't want you to just listen to this and go back to the same cycle. I really want you to take action. So the first thing I want you to do is to DM me and tell me your biggest attention leak. Let's make this real. What's the number one thing hijacking your attention right now? And then I want you to go on your favorite social media platform and find me, Michelle O'Neill, and DM me. And let's talk about it, you and me. I read every DM. And then, second, if you want to go deeper, I've got something for you. Look, I know this is a big shift, and it's not always easy to do on your own. That's why I actually created this webinar, this free webinar that I'm talking about, where I go deeper into this exact shift, how to stop over functioning and protect your attention and finally start operating in a way that feels good and sustainable. Look, if today's episode hit home for you, I want you in the room. And the link is in the show notes. So go ahead and save your spot because those spots are limited. And then finally, if this episode spoke to you, then it can speak to someone else. So share it with another high achieving woman just like you who needs to hear this because we're not meant to run on empty. We're not meant to kill ourselves every day. And look, until next time, take care. I'll see you then. Bye-bye. If this episode hits home, don't just push it aside. Lean into it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And connect with me on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Substack, where we go even deeper. Links will be in the comments. And if you're ready to start unlearning the patterns that keep you stuck, keep listening because real change happens one choice at a time. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.